Using completing the square to solve quadratic equations. Completing the square is a way to solve a quadratic equation if the equation will not factorize. This method is important because any quadratic equation can be rearranged so that it can be solved in this way. When solving an equation involving a perfect square, like this equation, taking the square root of both sides of the equation quickly yields the result. This same square rooting process works nicely on equations with the square of a binomial on the left side. Consider the equation. The left side of this equation is a perfect square trinomial. To solve this equation, factorize the perfect square trinomial on the left-hand side of the equation. Take the square root of both sides of the equation as we did in the previous equation. Solve for x. Unfortunately, some quadratics cannot be factorized. An alternative method to solve a quadratic equation is to complete the square. Completing the square is a method used to solve a quadratic equation by changing the form of the equation so that the left side is a perfect square trinomial. So we can solve it taking the square root of both sides. In plain English, equations of the form can be converted to the form from which the solutions are easy to obtain. Let's see how it works. Solve the equation below for exact values of x using the technique of completing the square. Pay attention. Step 1. Transform the equation so that the constant term c is alone on the right side. Add 5 to both sides of the equation. Step 2. Check to see if a, the leading coefficient, is 1. If not, divide each term by a. A is 5, so divide both sides by 5. Step 3. To complete the square, take half the coefficient of x, square it, and add the result to both sides of the equation. This step creates a perfect square trinomial on the left side of the equation. The coefficient of x is minus 4. Half of minus 4 is minus 2. Add minus 2 squared to both sides of the equation. Step 4. Factorize the perfect square trinomial on the left side. Step 5. Take the square root of both sides and solve for x. If you are asked for exact solutions, leave your answer in third form. Solve exactly by completing the square. Step 1. Move the constant term to the right side of the equation. We can do that by subtracting both sides by 2. Step 2. The leading coefficient is 1. Step 3. Take the coefficient of x, 6, divide by 2 and square it, and add the result to both sides of the equation. Step 4. Express the perfect square trinomial on the left side as a square of binomial. Step 5. Take the square roots of both sides of the equation. Make sure that you attach the plus or minus symbol to the right side of the equation. The next example you should try to solve by yourself and then check the full resolution. If you enjoyed the content of this video, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask or suggest anything. I will be grateful.